a while, and there's been a lot. I mean, it's like 6 years or something since the previous record, and this is a pretty intense record. So for folks who've been wondering what happened to you guys and why it's taken so long, what's your quick and short answer to that question?
Well, I mean, we put out Coliseum Complex Museum in 2015.
2016.
2016?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. 2016.
Right.
And toured it, put out an EP, and then in 2017, I mean, we'd had the same record label since 2007, Jaguar.
Right.
And we all kind of came to the consensus after that record was completed with the tour cycle that it was maybe time for us to part ways. And I mean, it was tough for us. We'd had the same label for so long, and they were like mentors and father figures to us. And
Right.
so we weren't sure at that point what we were going to do. And so we took some time to contemplate whether we were actually going to continue as a band.
Right.
And realized that, after going through some old stuff on our hard drives, that we had a lot of unfinished material that we could kind of, cull into something that was going to be what became this.
Yes.
And so we started making the record, but since we didn't have a label, we made a hour-long record with, 20 minutes of drone. And, we made the concept record we'd always wanted to make because
Right.
we had no one telling us to finish it or get it done. And so we made something that we're, excited about and super proud of. So
Gotcha. So there's a certain sense of freedom in not being affiliated with a label at this point and being able to kind of do what you want.
yeah, it feels like the first record again.
Really?
Like when we made our first record, it took a few years to make. We went through some band changes and ended up, the whole band just left us. And so Augie and I just went into the studio and made it on our own. And that was
Right.
the first time. It took a long time, did a lot of moving around. And I mean, this record, the same thing. We set up a little shed in our backyard and just went and worked on music when we wanted to and stopped when we wanted to stop. So
I must say, it doesn't sound like a record that was made in the shed in the backyard.
Fancy shed.
Fancy shed. Fair enough. And when you were thinking about what kind of record to make, were you thinking about what kind of record you wanted to make, or what kind of record your fans wanted to hear?
Record that we always wanted to make. We've always kind of wanted to do a concept record,
Right.
and we've sort of attempted that on all of our albums. But because we would, book time in the studio and go in and have this allotted amount, we would always have to compromise in ways to, have the record get finished. And so we were like, this is what we want to do. We want it to be a continuous piece of music, or at least feel that way. So in order to get that done, I mean, we just took our time, basically. It was just like no compromises.
With that in mind, the concept basically that I've understood is a journey to and from the brink of death. So just a lighthearted little look at stuff.
Yeah.
What made you want to go in that direction and explore that?
I mean, with Besnard Records, it always presents itself to us, the concept.
Yeah.
I mean, Augie's father passed away in 2013, and that album was like a lot about her father passing away. And then
Right.
my dad passed away in last year, 2019. So we were also dealing with, I'm a big Prince fan. He had passed away, and so Mark Hollis died from Talk Talk. We're
Right.
big Mark Hollis fans.
Mhm.
So the idea of the concept of the album just sort of presented itself to us because we were already dealing with all of these concepts, and then as the album started getting, pieced together, we kind of saw this arc that was happening. And then I think Augie came up with the
Four sides.
the four sides.
Yes.
Yeah. which is named
Near death, death, after death, and life. Like life is just one quarter of the whole equation.
Right.
Once one big circle. Yeah.
Yes. So obviously it's being released on vinyl if it's got four sides.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
good. Very good. And you mentioned Mark Hollis. My understanding is that the tune, the second track, Raindrops, is kind of inspired or about him. What is your affinity with his music, and what does that song have to do with him?
Well, I mean, there's the lyrical reference in the song is Garden of Eden, Spirited, and the Talk Talk album,
Right.
Spirit of Eden, was probably, I don't know if it was my favorite. That and Laughing Stock were both, phenomenal albums for both Jace and I, actually. But it was kind of my looking at, how their music, how Mark Hollis and Talk Talk, they just kind of had this, they were always just so evocative and like just this very very poetic, and it always, everything was just beautiful with them all the time, like their music, the album cover art,
perfect utopian.
Yeah, like this kind of everything, it just always, it always just stayed with me, and and then taking that line and thinking about the idea of a Garden of Eden, and how not looking at it in a biblical sense, but looking at it as a human evolution, where maybe we can have a utopia of sorts if we just if we lose our senses a little bit. But then at the same time, it's like, I get, evolution is really, it is kind of random in a sense. And it's like, well, what if there still is this dreaded temptation that comes along and, turns our vision of a utopia into a dystopia? And
Or what if our utopia is actually a dystopia?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it kind of took me on a little, obviously I went on a bit of a tangent, but it was,
Right.
I don't know, it
was all for Mark.
It was all for Mark.
Yeah.
I did it all for Mark.
Very good, very good. So the other person that you mentioned is Prince, and I mean, I was lucky enough to see him a couple of months here in Auckland before he passed away. He did his piano and microphone thing here, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
And so, whereabouts does he show up on the record?
He shows up on this song called Father of Time Wakes Up. The whole song is just littered with lyrical references, and I got my friend my friend Mark Cuthbertson, who's been a fan of the band for years, lives in Dallas, an amazing guitar player. He's always been bugging me to put, can I play a solo on one of your records? Can I play a solo on one of your records?
Right.
So I contacted him and said, look, I've got this song. It's a tribute to Prince. It's littered with Prince references throughout all the lyrics, but I really would love you to do a solo that references his melodies and his guitar lines.
Right.
And so the solo at the end is the whole solo is just Prince lines
Right.
all the way through it, pretty much until the very end.
Yeah.
I mean, when he sent that to me, it absolutely blew my mind. So I didn't even know. I'm not really much for like paying tribute to people. You know, it's like I like to keep that more of a personal thing instead of a public
Sure.
thing, because that's just you know. But I mean, something really hit me hard when Prince died. I'd been a fan of his since I was like 12 years old. He was the one who made me realize that I could, you know, produce, arrange, produce, or compose, and perform my own music.
Right.
You know, so and it also made me realize that I don't have to just play guitar. I can play bass. I can play drums. I can sing. I could, you know. So he was a big inspiration in how I turned out as a musician. So I felt like I owed it to him to do something. So I mean, having Mark come on and do the solo was just the icing on the cake, really.
Gotcha. Yeah. All righty. One other another track I wanted to touch on was "Feuds with Guns," which kind of feels like some kind of veiled goodbye from somebody to somebody in the lyrical content. It's got some nice strings in there as well. So maybe you can tell me where that one came from.
That one kind of, to me, feels like a bit of the old school Besnard. I had always had this kind of, well, I still do actually have this sort of running story in my head of a spy and a male spy and a female spy, and they're spying on each other and they're in love with each other, but they've been both received orders to kill each other.
Right.
And so it's been this kind of it's been this reoccurring theme throughout all the albums. So that song is the male spy writing to the female spy saying, you know, I've gone off to do something, and you might not ever see me again. So I just want to let you know that you may not have ever known this, but he's writing this letter to her saying, you know, you may never have known that even though I've tried to kill you,
right,
I'm yours. I'm always here for you.
Now I can't help but, I mean, obviously you guys are married and you're a couple, and so here you are coming up with these concepts. How do you, how did the two of you talk about this stuff? Because it's pretty dark.
I mean, I don't know if we do so much.
We don't really.
Yeah.
It comes out in the art, I guess. Like we're never fixated on this stuff. I mean, like a lot of our idea, at least for me, it's like, you know, a lot of stuff comes from like dreams and stuff that I've had, and it's almost the greatest, most freeing thing to be in a band together, because we can have these really like weird subliminal, you know, like subconscious elements come out safely in a way. It's kind of like a Freudian dream, you know, because we have a creative license to do it.
Right.
It's like you can do, you know.
Yep.
There's never any question of us censoring each other. It's like, you know, we just do what we do, and it's like we don't sit there and chastise each other afterwards for it. It's like, well, what did you mean about that?
Yeah.
And it's never happened.
Never.
No. Yeah. Never, ever.
That's probably a good, healthy attitude to have.
I think it has to be. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Now you mentioned, I mean, as far as I can tell, the band is a 6-piece band. You guys are kind of the steering creative force behind it. But tell me about the other people in the band. Have you been I don't know what the COVID situation is near Montreal. So do you get to see, are you playing together? Or are you kind of all separated? What's happening?
Yeah, I mean, like we have these live stream concerts coming up. We're doing 3 of them
Right.
to sort of, placate the fact that, we can't play shows. So, I mean, we've been rehearsing, but I mean, like I just told you, like we live about 45 minutes outside of town. So,
Yep.
the other members of the band, they have normal, they have, jobs. This our drummer Kevin works till like 4 o'clock in the afternoon every day. And so we get into town and we rehearse, and then we got to turn around and leave at like 7 o'clock.
Because we have a curfew.
Because we have a curfew here.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
I mean,
Oh,
it's
curfew.
really,
Jeez.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's crazy. We usually have like 6-7 hour long rehearsals just for building up for a new record. But
Just to get through one song.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, barely, right? So it's been really tough. Like it gets really frustrating at times where we'll just start to dig in on something, and then we'll just look at the clock and be like, oh well, we have to actually go home now. We can't have, we would have like a nice drink after we would finish rehearsing, and we can't. And then now it's just like work, go home, work, go home, work, go home. So it's I mean, we're getting stuff done, but it's really tough.
All right. What's the curfew? What time?
8 o'clock.
Oh my God. I was thinking it's got to be at least 9 or 10.
No. And I mean, we live an hour outside of town, so we actually have to leave at 7 o'clock to get home in time.
Oh man.
It's just nuts.
I mean, technically, like we do have the right to do, like we have paperwork and stuff from that allows you, like, you basically, if you get caught after 8 p.m. and they stop you and we show them papers saying we were allowed to work.
Like I'm technically the producer of the show, so I own Break Studios, which is where we rehearse. So I've made up a form. There's an attestation form that you can submit, but we've heard about musicians being out after 8 o'clock with the paper and the police not knowing and giving them $1,500 fines anyway. And saying, take it up with the judge.
Yeah.
So none of us really want to be even in that situation where we have to present the paper. We're just like, forget it. Let's just be home and get this over with.
Man, oh man. So what are the live streams going to be like? The first one's on February 5th, I believe. So it's not too far away.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first one's going to be the whole album front to back.
Ooh.
Yeah. Uninterrupted. The second one is going to be like a retrospective, like a hits collection.
Right.
And then the third one, I think, will probably be a combination of the two.
Right. So is this music difficult to replicate live between the 6 of you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It is. I mean, we have some horn players too coming on board with us, so it'll all be fine, but yeah, it's always a challenge to learn Besnard albums because we never really rehearse them beforehand. We kind of write them and then figure out how to do it after. So it's like you become like a cover band of your own music.
Yeah, I got you. So are you looking at your band now as very different from what you were 5-6 years ago?
I mean, I think so. Like we've evolved as players for sure. Like just in the sense of like just us like becoming better at being able to play and sing at the same time, which is always kind of a difficult thing to do,
Fair enough.
And we've been together for a long time now. So like collectively as a band, we know what we need to do and we sound good together. And I mean, that takes a lot of time just getting that dynamic working. We're not a punk rock band. It's not just like strap the guitars on and go. It's like there's subtleties there that need to be kind of worked out. And if we were just starting this with like a brand new band, I think it would take some time to figure out the nuances. But because we've been together for a while, it's like everybody already understands the nuances and what they should be doing. So it helps a lot.
Yeah. Now, one of the other songs I wanted to touch on was New Revolution, which is further into the record and near the end. And I'm wondering just what kind of revolution you have in mind. an opportunity?
Well, I mean, that's a really good question, actually.
Yeah.
That usually means that's an
Because
awful
I mean,
question.
yeah, there's
Just saying.
yeah, I mean, because yeah, you got to be careful with that because there's, I mean, it can be taken good in a, in a good sense and a bad sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, it just it's actually that's the most positive song that we've written probably ever.
Right.
And I just see it as this hopeful anecdote of living in in pretty shitty times.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
what,
the lyric is, the call was set for revolution. It's almost like we're receiving the information that a revolution is taking place. So we're not saying revolution.
No, I understand that.
Yeah, we're
wanna make
saying
sure everybody understands that.
we're saying a revolution has been received. What are we going to do with that information, and what are we going to do about it? I mean, we just dealt with 4 years of Donald Trump next door.
Yep.
It's been a very strange few years.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you about that because he is pretty much on your doorstep, or was, and that must have been. I mean, everything that happens there even affects us down here in New Zealand. So you're right around the corner. Does it feel like things are changing since he's gone, or is he gone?
Yeah. I mean, right away. It's just it just felt like this huge weight has been lifted off everyone's shoulders. I think, like,
right.
People are starting to realize that he really just was the worst person, and I mean, it can't it can't
Don't
be taken lightly either. It can't happen again.
Yeah.
Like, it can never happen. I don't know. Anyway, like, it's weird too, because it's like, like, we know people who were taken in, like, by his manifesto. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Freaky.
Yeah.
It's like he really is like the leader of a cult,
but his being in office, like, really presented, people really started to show their true colors in a way that never was.
yeah.
And he almost allowed it to happen. People finally felt proud to show these colors,
which I would say is in a way a positive thing, because
I think so too.
I agree.
Under the carpet before that, it was there, but nobody admitted it.
Yeah, when it's covert, it's a lot more dangerous than when it's overt. You could see it happening, and it's just like, holy shit. Like, even if it's shocking to see it, it gets flushed out. Like, you can see what's happening. It's not something hidden deep in someone's psyche.
Yeah. I noticed it right away because I'm a bit of a news junkie. So I was every day, if you're reading the news too, it's like it's every single day here. It's like Trump did this. And I kind of, when Biden took over, the news suddenly was just, for the first day, I was kind of like, I said to Augie, I was like, I think I'm kind of going through a little bit of a news withdrawal here. There's no drama, no shitty things.
It even happened a couple of days sooner when he got cut off of all the social media, Twitter and Facebook. It was like, oh.
Sweet silence. I had forgotten about this. Like, I had forgotten about just normal news, like things that are, you start to hear about, like, what the rest of the world is doing, which I was following before all this mayhem began.
Now, getting back to the band and the record, because we do want to talk about. If this were normal times and you were doing gigs and stuff, what would Besnard Lakes gig be like with this record? What kind of people come to see? What kind of show would you be putting on?
I mean, we usually have strobe lights, fog machines, lasers. It's a pretty, because we're not we're not much to look at, and we're concentrating on our
We're concentrating
we're
so
concentrating so hard that we don't really move around much, and we're kind of
Right.
boring to look at. So, you know, a few years ago, we were just like, let's make this show look really cool, and people can stare at crazy lasers and things. So at
Right.
least something looks like it's happening. So we like to put on you know, we want to perform well for people. So,
Sure.
you know, there's a lot of concentrating that goes on, but we
So do you have like a shed in the back with lasers and stuff?
Yes.
Do you
Yeah.
really? I love it.
Yeah, I just built a wall out of PVC piping that's made out of that's 16 strobe lights.
Right, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So very
You guys
excited
in his
about
spare
using that.
time.
Yeah.
Did you guys
My COVID
get bored or something and just go and turn them on in the backyard and freak out the neighbors?
pretty much, yeah.
I
I do
love
it in my garage. The garage, just all the windows light up, and everybody's like, do it at nighttime. Nobody knows what's going on.
Looks like an alien landing of some sort or something.
Yeah, we're definitely the weirdos on our block.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fantastic. So are you thinking about the next record?
Nope,
No,
nope.
not right now.
No, we'll get this one through. I want to get on tour. I
Yeah.
want to stay focused on this. We really want to perform this record for people.
Yep.
So that's what we're focused on right now.
Yeah,
We'll
very
probably, we probably won't dig into something new and probably till maybe early next year. So,
And have you ever been down this part of the planet?
we've been
Not
to
New Zealand.
Australia, but not New Zealand.
Okay, well, that's
Yeah.
something to look forward to. Because
I
I mean,
would love to.
Oh my God.
we're
Yeah.
free and clear here for the most part, but we can't have anybody coming in and out very easily. They're
Yeah,
working on that now.
That's
Yeah.
just so amazing. I can't. You see, you're
0 cases.
you're back to normal. You're going out, and
I'm going to go to a folk festival over the weekend.
oh, you son of a bitch!
There you go. Fantastic. Oh, well.
Oh man!
And on that note,
yeah, yeah, you're very lucky. That's so
Yeah, well,
amazing.
I feel
Hopefully
it,
We'll
yeah.
be there too. Yeah.
because actually I'm from Rochester, New York, which isn't far from
Oh,
Toronto
okay.
and Canada
Yeah.
and all that. So
Yeah.
I feel your pain, especially since it's
Yeah.
winter now.
Yeah, exactly.
There,
Yeah,
it's summer here.
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, that's
well,
the another reason to come down there at that time.
Right now.
Yeah, I mean,
Summertime,
usually-
yeah.
usually we're inundated with international artists January, February, March, because they all want to get away
Of
from the
course.
Northern Hemisphere winter.
Yeah,
Fortunately, we have a great local scene, so they're making up for it.
amazing,
Yeah.
amazing.
Great.
So yeah, come
Yeah.
on down if you get a chance. We'd love to see you. And
Love
so
to come.
thank you for doing this, and good luck with the record. I hope it does all the stuff that it's supposed to be doing. And we'll tell people about the live streams too, because I think they're going to be pretty cool.
Awesome. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
This was
Thank
fun.
you.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.